Tonight, I'm asking for the vote of every single African American citizen in this country who wants to see a better future. Look how much African American communities have suffered under Democratic control. To those I say the following: what do you have to lose by trying something new like Trump? What do you have to lose?
Well, I'll tell you what Black Americans have lost since Donald Trump took office. Well, as a result of the Supreme Court's decision on yesterday, since Donald Trump first took office back in 2016, Black Americans have lost major protections in the courts and through executive order. And a lot of people who stayed home voted third party or treated 2016 and 2024 like a protest. They did protest votes. They helped to create the conditions for all of this damage that Black Americans have been left to deal with. He sits up at that podium smugly asking, what do Black Americans have to lose, when he knew there was a plan to strip Black Americans of everything. There is the case Shelby County versus Holder, which gutted preclearance under the Voting Rights Act. We all know about the Students for Fair Admissions versus Harvard. That ended affirmative action in admissions. And then yesterday we have Louisiana versus Callis, I believe it's pronounced, which narrowed voting rights protections when it comes to redistricting. And that is just what the Supreme Court did in 2016 and in 2024. Let's move on into the executive orders that Donald Trump has put into place. There's Executive Order 1415, which ended radical and wasteful government DEI programs and prefacing. It just basically ended DEI for federal programs, offices, positions, and any other type of activities that they deemed is DEI. And then there is Executive Order number 14173, which they labeled as ending illegal discrimination and restoring merit-based opportunity. He revoked this one. And it was for equity-oriented federal actions, and it pushed agencies to eliminate discriminatory preferences in DEI-related enforcement. I want to give a shout out to Alfred because, yeah, some of this stuff I didn't even know had taken place. He also revoked Executive Order number 11246, which removed the federal contractor non-discrimination and affirmative action framework that had long helped police hiring discrimination. And then he implemented an executive order on documentary proof of citizenship that adds a voting barrier critics said would disproportionately burden Black voters and other eligible voters. So in the Supreme Court, rolling back protections, he's also doubling it up by way of executive orders. I included the executive orders number so that you all could go back and do your research and read up on those executive orders and educate yourselves on how to best protect yourself. Please do that. The more you know. We can't forget about what he did when it came to the environment, right? He implemented an executive order, titled it Environmental Justice Rescissions, I believe. Look for that title. I couldn't find the executive order number, but that executive order was implemented and it stripped away federal protections that were aimed at communities, Black communities, low income communities that were overburdened by pollution and toxic chemicals, all of that stuff. Yeah, he he implemented an executive order to cut all of that out. So to you racist white leftists, you never Kamala people, you uncommitted people, you third party voters, you non-voters, you Trump voters, your protest did not happen in a vacuum. When you stayed home or you helped split the vote or you voted for Donald Trump, it is Black communities that ended up, we are paying the price. We lost protections, we lost enforcement, we lost ground in places where racism was already doing damage to us. So don't tell me, don't tell us that elections don't matter when the policies that followed had consequences for our lives. If you wanted to make a statement, fine, but be man enough, be woman enough to admit that it was Black people who were going to pay the price for your actions. It was the Black community that is going to have to be left with the fallout. And for all of you Asians, Latinos, other brown people, all of these protections, these regulations that are being overturned and rolled back, those affect the Black community. And what affects the Black community, it affects you too. That's it. That's all. The end.
Tonight, I'm asking for the vote of every single African American citizen in this country who wants to see a better future. Look how much African American communities have suffered under Democratic control. To those I say the following: what do you have to lose by trying something new like Trump? What do you have to lose? I say it again, what do you have to lose? Look, what do you have to lose? You're living in poverty, your schools are no good, you have no jobs, 58% of your youth is unemployed. What the hell do you have to lose?